welcome to a Bible study about Titus 2 principles. They are principles for the home. And whether you are here and you are married, single, widowed, or divorced, you have a home. And you have people that you can share these principles with, whether it's your daughter, your granddaughter, whether it's a friend or neighbor or relative. These are all significant people that come to you looking for wisdom. We all have people in our life that want answers, and they come to us for those answers. And we need to have clear biblical, scriptural answers for them. We need to have the Bible put into practice. You know, so many times we have so much Bible knowledge, but is it really being put to practice in our homes? We have such ignorance about the Titus 2 principles, and they are practices and wisdom that we need to be continually teaching in our church. We have been talking about being a diamond.
Do you know how to unlock your pad?
I don't.
Okay.
We have been talking about being a diamond and God cutting us and shaping us, cutting the facets of the diamond. And we had looked at last time Proverbs 31 verse 10, where it says that a virtuous, a capable woman, who can find her price is above rubies or diamonds. And we want to be that kind of woman, don't we? We all say that we do, and yet we're not. And in those quiet moments where we really take a good look at ourselves, we know we're not. And yet we keep trying and trying and trying. And the word try looks like this. Try. T. We are tempestuous. Oh my goodness. We women are so hormonal, aren't we? We're always PMSing. We're menopausing. We're pregnant. Our hormones are up and down and all around. And we are very tempestuous woman. The R in try stands for rebellious. I'll do it my way. We don't see ourselves oftentimes as rebellious, but the urge and the desire to do it our way is a symptom of rebellion. And the Y in try, I was looking very hard for a word for that Y, and I came up with the word yucky. And I thought that's a pretty good word. I looked up the word yak in a Webster's dictionary, and it said it was persistent talk. And I thought, oh my goodness, does that fit us as women perfectly? Are we not yucky women? Persistently talking about this, talking about that, complaining, criticizing. We are continually yakking. Well, Titus 2 tells us that we should be putting ourselves into each other's lives, and we need to quit trying, but begin trusting. Are you trusting the master jeweler to help you out, to turn you into that wonderful diamond? You know, he can do it. He has the tools available. He has the expertise. He has the knowledge. He knows what he's doing. He has the craftsmanship. And we need to allow him to cut us and to shape us into that beautiful diamond. So instead of trying, we need to begin trusting. Now, I know in many Bible studies you talk about that word trusting, and you know it's a word that's used all over Scripture. And I want to give you a little acrostic this morning that is very specific to Titus 2 for the word trust. So let's look at trust in perhaps a little different way as we think about trusting the master jeweler. The T stands for temperate or sound-minded, and we're going to be talking more about that later, so I will keep going. The R in trust, as we think about trusting the Lord as women and especially as wives, stands for respectful. Are you being a woman that is respectful of your husband, of the men in your life, your boss, a neighbor, a pastor? Are you respectful? The U in trust stands for understanding the differences between men and women. Understanding the differences between men and women. The S in trust stands for submitting. Submitting yourself, first of all, of course, to God, but then to your husband. Are you submitting? The T in trust stands for turning your temple over to your husband. In 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and leading about in verse 19 through 21 and then leading into 1 Corinthians chapter 7, Scripture makes it clear that our body is not our own, it is the Lord's. And then it goes on to say, if you are married, it is not your body, it is your husband's, and vice versa. And this is the sexual part, the intimate part of our relationship. So are you trusting the Lord? These core beliefs, T-R-U-S-T, these 5 core teachings of Titus 2 are so important, and I believe that without which there is no or very little real spiritual growth. Now that may be a new concept for you, because we don't often hear these things tied together. But I think once we implement these 5 core teachings, we begin to see real spiritual growth in our lives. not just marking our Bible in rainbow colors, not just going to Bible studies and being able to quote Bible factoids, not just being able to quote Bible verses. Let me tell you, I was able to do all of that very well 10 years ago. And someone looking on the outside would have said, oh my goodness, isn't she a mature believer? And I would have agreed. Quite honestly, I certainly thought I was. But you know what? I have learned since then, as a result of trust, that I was not at all spiritual. I had so much growing to do, and it all came in these areas of trust. And we as women are deceived. We are deceived about how spiritual we really are. We go to Bible studies and church meetings and we just pat each other on the back and say, oh my goodness, aren't you wonderful? And aren't you suffering for Jesus, living with that man? Oh my goodness, living with those circumstances, you poor thing. I'll pray for you. We are so deceived, ladies. Our enemy is Satan, not our husbands, not our mothers, not our mother-in-laws, not that difficult child, not that difficult person in our life. But Satan is the enemy. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 was a verse that I had memorized long years ago. And I thought I understood it. But you know what? I soon came to discover that I had really very little knowledge of this verse. 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8 says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." Well, let me tell you, there's a very important word right there at the beginning of 1 Peter chapter 5:8 that for all my years as a Christian, and they were many, over 50, I ran right over that verse, and especially that first couple of words, and I did not understand it, and it certainly was not part of my life. And because of that, Satan, who roams about like a lion, was able to devour my family. You know, Satan is looking for you as a tasty little snack to devour. And those words were be sober, be sound-minded. Such important words, ladies. It is so important that we understand that. Titus 2, 3 through 5 says the older women are to be teaching, a continual process, the younger women, and in the King James it says to be sober. There's that word again. Now in our culture, to be sober has a very specific meaning. It means not to be drunk. Well, now that's a very good thing, and I highly recommend it, that we be sober in that way. But this word has so much more meaning and depth to it than our English word sober. It is a word that is rich in meaning. And in the original, It is in this verse, Titus 2, 3 through 5, it is the word Sophronicso. And the word breaks down into to make a whole mind. That's the literal meaning of the word that is used there. And we need to have a whole mind. It is a verb form that shows that there is to be a continuing action. This is a process. We don't wake up one morning and say, oh my goodness, I am now a sound-minded, sober woman. I wish that were true, but it doesn't happen that way. It is a lifelong process that we go through, and it is so important to understand that. That's why we say that the teachings of Titus 2 need to be ongoing. You need to have them available at all times, because there's going to be different points in your life, different circumstances, different stages that you will need this, if you will, this course correction into sound-mindedness. And it is, by the way, interesting to me as well that the word sophronicso is the verb form, but later on in the verse where it says that the older women are to be teaching the younger women different character qualities, it says the word discreet. And that word is sophron. Sounds familiar? It is the noun form of that same word. Now, our God never stammers, never stutters. When He repeats something twice, that means it's very, very important. So it's interesting to me in these 3 short verses directed to us specifically as women, that twice we are admonished to be sophron, sound-minded. 1 Peter 5:8 is addressed to all believers, of course. But here it's addressed to us specifically as women, and we are admonished twice. That tells me that my character as a woman especially needs this business of being sound-minded. So what is being sound-minded? Let me give you a Webster's Dictionary definition of sound-minded. It is to discipline, to train, to think and act soberly, discreetly, and in moderation. Do we live in a supersized generation or what? There is nothing moderate about the way we live. Think of your average commercial. Well, just supersize it. Just get it more and bigger and better. And the giant economy size. We are all about more. Moderation has been lost in the shuffle. And we are actually, in this culture, making a virtue out of gluttony, extravagance, foolishness, and discontentment. Is not every ad you see, every commercial that you look at, is it not all about being discontent with what you have? and going out there and getting more and better and the new improved version and getting it made bigger. Oh my goodness. We are so not a sound-minded generation. Well, as you know, we love to do word studies, and part of a word study is to look up the synonyms. So let me give you some synonyms for sound-mindedness so you can begin to see all the depth there is in this word. One synonym is self-control. Oops. Boy, do we not like that word. Every New Year's Eve, what do we make? Oh, resolutions. When are they broken? Oh, that would be about January 1st or 2nd. If we're lucky, they last that long. Self-control. Another synonym, self-discipline, temperate. Words that may even sound very strange to your ears because you don't use them. Maybe you need to take some of these words and look them up in a dictionary and get some more intense knowledge of them. Another synonym is prudent. Back in the Puritan days, they would actually name their little girls Prudence because this was a virtue that they held high, to be a prudent woman. Sounds like a weird word, old-fashioned, doesn't it? Look it up. Sound judgment is another word, synonym. Rational, sensible. Does your husband ever look at you and say, "You're just not acting rationally right now. I wish you'd be more sensible"? And you